I would like us all to take a moment of silence for the Southern Baptist Convention. Greetings, I'm JC Pilcher, and this is JCPC Apologetics. Well, hello guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're dealing with a subject that I was afraid I would sooner or later have to deal with and had no desire to do so. And that is dealing with the Southern Baptist Convention. They met a week or two ago, depends on when I post this video. And this was a big meeting, let's put it that way. For many of you who watch this channel, I don't know what denominations you belong to. I don't know what you are. If you are not SBC, this video may not directly apply to you. But it's still something I recommend that you listen to, because the SBC is kind of like, in denominations, it's kind of like America is to the world. As it goes, so goes the world. As America goes, so goes the world. And as the SBC goes, so goes the rest of denominations. So if you're not SBC, it's still going to apply to you, because this battle that the SBC fought and lost terribly is a battle that is probably already going on in your denominations. The fact is, your denomination has probably already lost the battle. But I just want to do I'm going to say a quick kind of review of the things that I noticed from the convention. And this is probably not going to end up as quick as what I thought. But basically, if I could sum it up in a nutshell, it was an absolute disaster. The goal for a lot of SBC members going into this convention was they wanted to take back the denomination. J.D. Greear has been a colossal failure, the worst president the SBC has probably ever had. An absolute wretch. I'm not even sure that the man's even a Christian, just based on the things that he said even in the convention. He believes the false gospel. We'll get to that in a few. We really, as conservatives, wanted to take back the denomination for the conservative, for Bible-believing Christians. Let's not even talk about this. Is not just conservative versus liberal. This is talking about different gospels. And we were hoping to take it back. Now, me, as many of you have probably heard in other videos, I've talked about the fact that officially, I don't consider myself SBC anymore. I quit giving money to the SBC a while back, mainly because of some of the funny business I was hearing. But secretly, deep down inside, I'm one of those guys that go down with the ship. For you guys who know, I took a break off of doing videos for a while, and that's because I was still holding on to a ship, you might say, that I should have abandoned 5 years ago. But I held on to it for 5 years, and I sank with that ship and had to take time off to kind of get myself back together, for lack of better words. I'm one of those people who will go down with the ship. I will fight. I'm a loyal person, let's put it that way. I will fight for whatever cause or group I'm in to the death. And so for me, leaving the SBC when I've been SBC most of my life is very hard to do. So deep down inside, even though I was trying to walk away from the SBC, I was hoping and praying that this convention we could turn things around. And the long and short of it, it was a disaster. It's not like we only won a third of our battles. Literally everything that the conservatives put forward was mocked, derided. The left called them all kinds of names, said they were jerks, that they hated the gospel, that they were, you fill in the blank, conspiracy theorists was what was used. And literally everything that we brought up as conservatives. Now, I wasn't there personally. The way I'm saying we sounds like I was there. I was not there personally. I'm going based on testimonies that I heard and what I heard actually of it, bits and pieces of the conference that I listened to. We lost every single battle we were in. I'm not talking about 99% of them. I'm talking 100%. There was nothing that the conservatives brought to the table that actually passed. And I say this regarding some things that you would think even the liberals in the denomination would claim to stand for. And it was just another explosion of wokeism, for lack of better words. A great example is this. Somebody put forth a resolution on the subject of abortion, said that we need to condemn abortion. on paper, the official position of the SBC, apparently since the 70s, is that it's okay in certain circumstances. I didn't even know that. But the response from the resolutions committee, instead of saying, yeah, let's put it on paper that we're against abortion in any and every case. They instead answered, well, everybody knows that the SBC is against abortion. We don't need to actually put out a resolution like this. Now, first of all, I say that's stupid. I'm not convinced that everybody in the SBC is against abortion. I've heard SBC pastors claiming that abortion's okay. Why? Because it's a Democrat position and you have to be able to vote Democrat. So I know that there are people who are for abortion in the SBC. Two, if your official position, the last thing that's actually been passed on abortion, says that it's okay in certain circumstances, then you're not clearly understood where you stand on the issue. You need to make it clear. But the biggest issue of all is that it's just hypocritical. 100% hypocritical. What do I mean? The SBC is against slavery and against racism, right? Everybody knows that, right? But this SBC convention and every SBC convention just about for probably 20 years has condemned racism. We condemned it last time, and we condemn it this time, and we condemn it next time. And guess what? SBC Convention 2022, they're probably going to have another statement condemning racism. I thought we knew where we stood on this. I mean, after all, we don't need to do it when we knew where we stand on an issue, right? The issue is the leadership in the SBC don't really care about abortion. And they know if they take a strong stance against abortion, then that looks bad on the Democratic Party who apparently now is a big donor to the SBC. So they refuse to take a stance on abortion, an actual very clear and obvious sin that is being, excused in our culture today, but make another stand on racism when it's not really an issue that's really big in our culture. It's growing, but not in the way that they're talking about either. It's growing, mainly white and Asian people are the targets of racism nowadays. But the SBC won't even condemn that either. Another area of concern that has really bothered me, the wokeism is a big deal. Don't get me wrong. It is the battle that is happening all over. But there was something that has been brought to my attention occasionally over a number of years, but really has hit strong in the last few months, was that the SBC is a disaster when it comes to corruption. It is like thoroughly corrupt. We give millions and millions of dollars to this organization, all these churches across the U.S. for years and years and years, and they give us no sort of feedback on what they're actually doing with our money. Oh, they'll say, we gave so much to missions, we gave so much to, but they'll give us no actual breakdown of how they're spending our money. We gave $10,000 to missions. Truth is, they gave $10,000 to their friend who was a missionary. And so that's what they, that sort of stuff apparently has been going on for a long time. A lot of corruption, a lot of crooked spending. And that's the stuff we know. The vast majority of the money that we give, we have no clue what our money is actually going to. This is the reason why I quit giving to the SBC, because I wasn't sure that my money wasn't going to something evil. And the fact is, there is a requirement in the SBC laws for the SBC to be transparent about the giving. And somebody called it out on the floor during the SBC convention saying, hey, we need you guys to give us a breakdown of how the money is going to be spent or is being spent. We want to know where our money's going. And basically, the committee said, no, they didn't say it so bluntly. They did a great politician answer where they went in circles and blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line was, no, we're not telling you what we're doing with your money. I'm sorry. Somebody who refuses to tell you what they're doing with your money has no business touching your money. The SBC is an untrustworthy business. It's not even a denomination anymore. It's a business. And we got to stop that. We can't support that anymore. That's why, again, personally, I quit supporting the SBC financially a long time ago. you literally have no clue where your money's going. And, you know, there was a group out there that does kind of analysis on different denominations, charities, and groups like that, nonprofits, to see how transparent they are as a business. The Clinton Foundation apparently is more transparent than the SBC. When you got something as corrupt as the Clintons that is more transparent than the SBC, you know the SBC is thoroughly corrupt. And the bottom line is, the fact is, guys, I believe, no, I just want to make this clear. This is what I believe. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I believe the reason they won't open the books, the reason they won't show us where the money's going, is because if they did, many of these well-named pastors that you see in the SBC, the J.D. Greers, the Albert Mollers, and all their friends, they probably all go into jail. That's why they're not doing it. The things that I have heard sounds pretty corrupt to me. And the only reason I won't name them specifically is because I don't have basically footnotes on there to show you. I'm not going to accuse somebody of committing a crime without actually producing the evidence of it. But I'm putting it out there. That's probably why they won't open the books, is because of a whole lot of corruption and criminal activity. And if I'm wrong, SBC, you guys in the SBC, open the books, prove me wrong. I would be happy to say, oh, I was wrong. Maybe I jumped the gun thinking that you guys were criminals. But the behavior that they're putting forth is, yeah, they're deep in some criminal activity and they don't want it found out. But don't worry, you can hide your crimes for a long time. Eventually, God's going to either let it be seen here in this life, or you will pay for it in the next, for lack of better words. So, guys, the SBC is not trustworthy. You cannot trust them with your money. You know, there was a lot amongst the conservatives about stewardship. And yes, we should be wise stewards of what God gave us. And the fact is, if you give money to the SBC, you are not being a wise steward, because these are wolves spending the sheep's money in wolfish sort of ways. And this is not good, guys. We need to kind of put a stop to that. The only other thing I'd like to point out is that, you know, we had some serious issues with, like, the sermons being preached by J.D. Greer. He talked a whole lot about the gospel. And every time he talked about the gospel, he described the gospel as works-based salvation. You're not saved unless you are doing social justice work. And that's a false gospel. If J.D. Greer believes the gospel that he preaches, J.D. Greer is an unbeliever. And that really bothers me, because he was on the documentary that I recommended, the American Gospel documentary. Of course, I thought he was one of the guys who was out of place, like, even before I knew who J.D. Greer was, because I watched that before I knew who he was. He seemed out of place, like he didn't belong there. He didn't, to me, seem as, for lack of a better word, sincere. He seemed like a player, because, hey, guys, as an insider, as a guy who's been in a lot of these churches and a lot of these things, a lot of your celebrity pastors like J.D. Greer, they're performers. The person you see on stage and the way they do things is a performance. And when you're a guy who understands how performance is done, you can tell when there's a person up there who's being themselves and when there's a person up there performing. And I offend some people with that, because there's a lot of pastors that are popular I don't listen to, because they look like performers. You know, I look at a guy like a R.C. Sproul and a guy like a John MacArthur. Those guys are real. What you see is what you get. They're not performing. They're being themselves up there. J.D. Greer, he's a performer. You know, Stephen Furtick, all the Word of Faith guys, they're performers. And I think, you know, this is really going to get me thrown in the hot water, but I think John Piper's a performer. People may disagree with me, but if the guy is not a performer, if that is who he really is, I can understand why his son is an atheist, is all I can say. Because his whole presentation style is very, like, you can't survive on that level in reality, that sort of intensity and hyper emotionalism. Eventually you'll just have a nervous breakdown. So if he is really that way in private, then yeah, he's probably, like, too intense and scared off his family. I don't know. But now, you know, that's my opinion. Many pastors are performers, and J.D. Greer, he may be, I don't know if he sincerely believes the gospel that he was preaching, or if he actually believes the true gospel and can't tell the difference. Either way, his sermon was absolutely horrible, and his leadership the entire time he's been in the SBC presidential role has been a nightmare. Again, maybe he's sincere, maybe he's not, maybe I'm wrong about that. But the gospel that he preached is a false gospel. It is the Galatian heresy. It is legalism. You must do works in order to be saved. And that is not the gospel. And that should concern you. Why? Because since he's been in charge, though I think it probably goes back before him, NAMB and the IMB, when they train their missionaries, the guys that your money should be going to, and we are, you know, despite all their iffy spending, we're like comforted when we hear, oh, at least the money's going to some missionaries here, there, and yonder. Those missionaries are being trained because many of them who are being trained are coming out and saying, yeah, this is the gospel that we're told to preach, is that works-based Galatian heresy gospel. So your money that might actually be making it to missions is going out to spread a false gospel. It's given to the SBC missions right now is like given to the Mormon church. You're given money to preach a false religion. That's problematic. This is stuff that we should have seen for a long time, and many people have. You know, I got to give credit to guys out there who have seen this and been sounding the alarm for a long time, and many people have written them off as crazy. I kind of believed them, but didn't believe them enough to where it actually resulted in me acting. Guys like James White, who was kicked, he left the SBC, but he was kicked out of an SBC, you know, he was teaching at one of their universities and was kicked out a long time ago because he was seeing how things were going. Was the other guy, I think Russell Fuller is his name, who was fired by Albert Mohler because he saw what was going on. And then there was this other guy, Michael O'Fallon, also kind of the same situation. He wasn't fired, but he's been calling them out for their stuff for a long time. So I give credit to those guys. That this SBC convention of 2021 really showed that the things that they were saying is unfortunately very true. And I regret every dime that I've been giving to the SBC because I don't know how many false converts my money has been making. And that's scary. Now, as I get ready to close this out, the big thing, well, I guess the abortion thing should be the big thing. But another big thing that the conservatives faced and lost was we had 4 guys running for SBC president. J.D. Greer kind of unethically, in my mind, took a third term, which he wasn't technically supposed to be able to do, but he used COVID as an excuse to not step down as SBC president and just continued in a third term. They had 4 guys running to replace him. They had 2 conservatives, a guy by the name of Randy Adams, who his big push was to root out the corruption that we were talking about, which would have been great. And we had a guy by the name of Mike Stone who wanted to root out the CRT stuff. Then we had moderate Albert Mohler. Albert Mohler is a liberal. You know, he speaks. For the first few times I heard Albert Mohler, you know, teach and preach and stuff, I thought he was great. And then I started hearing about the things he actually does. And when you see a person who says one thing, but their actions do the exact opposite, you know the actions are who they really are. And everything Albert Mohler does is radically liberal. And so my concern going into this thing was that, oh, no one's going to go vote for an uber leftist, but they're not going to go and vote for conservative. We're going to get Albert Mohler. People are going to say, oh, we got a conservative. And in fact, we're going to have a liberal in there. That's what I thought was going to happen. They didn't even do that. Albert Mohler lost the first round. We ended up with Ed Litton. I think his name is Ed Litton. I know the last name is Litton. He's the ultra liberal guy. He is pro CRT. He's pro women pastors. Now he's like most liberals. He won't say, like, I heard allegedly one situation where he said, well, women maybe shouldn't be pastors. I'm not so sure. That's a conversation we should have. I think the local churches have a right to decide, but we should have a conversation about ordaining them. Aside from that word salad meaning a whole lot of nothing, how can it be wrong for them to be pastors, but okay to ordain them? Excuse me? I heard in another situation, and this is fact, we have it on video. He lets his wife preach on Sunday morning. This is, and I hear a lot of people saying, this is against the Baptist faith and message. I don't give nothing. You know, I don't have anything to give for that. I don't care what the Baptist faith and message means. I mean, yes, it does show a immoral and unethical character because he's a part of a denomination that says this is wrong, and he still does it. But I don't care about the Baptist faith and message. The scriptures are very clear on the issue, and he's saying, I don't care what the scripture says. I'm going to do it anyway in my church. He has, since the convention, already said that anybody who stands against CRT is a conspiracy theorist. And the big thing that has really come out is that his website, his church website, on their What We Believe section actually contains heresy. And I'm not talking about, some people throw out that term, heresy, 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 about everything. And, the color of your pews could amount to heresy. We're talking about actual heresy, the heresy called partialism. It's a Trinitarian heresy where they basically say the Father is not the Son, not God. The Holy Spirit is not God. The Son isn't God. They are all parts of God. Together they make up God. But that's not scripture. Specifically, the website just left it to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are three parts of God. And that's a heresy. That's been condemned for years. And there it is on the SBC president's website. Now, the funny thing is, as soon as it started getting pointed out online, all of a sudden it came down, and they changed it to a more orthodox version. Now, for me personally, you would think, being a guy who emphasizes theology as much as I do, that I would really be grasping on that one. For me, I'm not really worried about it as much. And the reason for that is the chances are I don't think he's T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes is a modalist, and his desire is to change the church into a modalistic, heretical church. He wants to teach modalism. That's his thing, one of his things. I don't think this guy is a secret closet partialist and he's trying to convert the SBC to partialism. I think the guy's ignorant on theology. The guy has no idea what the Bible teaches about any of this stuff. The few sermons I've heard of him teaching, the guy is biblically ignorant. And he's not a young guy. You can excuse, the Trinity is a hard doctrine to teach. It's hard to understand because inevitably it's beyond our understanding. But there are things you ought to know not to say, like all three are parts of God. And what it shows to me is just the sloppiness and the lack of caring about matters that actually matter. All he really cares about is what looks good in the eyes of the world, standing for social justice, preaching whatever virtue is in the on CNN today, that sort of thing. And it shows a heart that is not right towards God. And more importantly, it shows that he wants to be a friend of the world, and friendship with the world is enmity with God. You want to be friend with the world? Fine, but you're going to be an enemy of God. It also shows that the man is totally unqualified to be a pastor. If he's unqualified to be a pastor, why on earth would you think that this man should be leading the SBC? If you can't define what the Trinity is, if you can, accidentally put a heretical statement on the Trinity on your website, because that's their excuse. It was just a slipsy-doozy. We didn't mean to. It was a mistake. That kind of mistake is not one that should be made by anybody who's a pastor. The man is unqualified to be a pastor. I haven't taken on the role as a pastor at a church because I don't feel qualified to be a pastor. I feel like I still need training. But I am more qualified to be a pastor than the president of the SBC. That ought to scare people. That ought to scare him. He's not a young man. He's old fella. And he's teaching heresy, or can't tell the difference between heresy and the truth. But he can tell you everything there is to know about social justice and what the world wants and why we should be behind the world. You see a priority issue. He's way off base. Basically, that's all I got to say about Litton. He's a liberal, an uber liberal, and he won. So what's the conclusion of this whole matter to me? The conservatives are reacting in two separate ways. I respect the one that I disagree with, but I think it's misguided. And I hate saying that because some of the guys that I really, really respect are on that side. Tom Askell, the guy who heads up Founders Ministry, he's on the side I disagree with. He thinks we should stay in the SBC because really when it came down to Litton versus Stone, the difference was only like a few hundred votes of like 12,000, I think, votes total. It was over 12,000. There was only like a few hundred difference. I mean, it was neck and neck. And so he's saying if we were this close, we could win it. If we just stick it out, we'll probably pull it out next time. The problem is, first of all, conservatives have already left the SBC since the convention ended. For many of them, it's time. They're like, okay, that was it. It's time to jump ship. Second of all, this took place in Nashville. This is in the heart of conservative territory. It's a cheap place. That's what I love about Tennessee, why I want to move down there again. Much easier for people, you know, poor local church people who are by and large conservative to go over there and actually vote. The next one's going to be in Anaheim. I've been to Anaheim, California. You can't afford a hotel in Anaheim, California. The little old ladies who came to vote from their church in Tennessee are not going to be able to afford to go down to Anaheim. But what we do know is that your giving, your money that you sent to the NAMB was used by the NAMB to bring in their liberal voters. They used tithe money. They used giving money to bring in liberal voters to vote for Litton. And they will pay any and every dollar they have to bring those people to Anaheim. But your church won't be able to send messengers because they won't be able to afford it. Yes, it was close this time. It'll be a blowout next time, especially since many conservative churches have already left the SBC. I don't even know where to go with this. The fact is, yes, the SBC president vote was close. But the way I look at it is like this. You can look at a football team, and they had an 0-16 season. They lost every game. But against the team that won the Super Bowl, they came within 2 points. 2 points of beating them. But they lost. If that team says, we almost had it. We almost had it. Just stick out with us, guys. Continue to support our team. We're going to do it next year. I look and I say, you almost beat the team that won the Super Bowl. But you lost every other game. Many of them by far. I'm sorry, you're not almost there. You are nowhere even close. You lost every single game. That is what happened at the SBC. I admire the loyalty of people like Tom Askell. I feel that. I really want to do that. I want to save the sinking ship, but the ship has taken on too much water. You can't, at some point, save the Titanic. It's going down. And just like the Titanic split and went down, I think it's time for the SBC to split. I admire your loyalty. I admire anybody who wants to try to fight it out. But I don't think there's much left in the SBC to save. There was one other conservative, I recognize his name. I don't know him well enough to, say much about his ministry, but said, I can't leave the SBC because there's so much money tied up in the SBC, and that is just bad stewardship to leave that behind. But my thought, that seems to me an argument to leave, because all that money tied up in the SBC is going who knows where. We have no clue. They refuse to tell us what they're doing with that money, and what little we know is extremely corrupt. Yes, they are taking money that you, a conservative, is giving and giving to causes that are absolutely terrible, or bailing out their friends, or taking lavish vacations, or what? You could be taking that tithe money and be giving it directly to missionaries, local missionaries, guys like me who might want to go to Uganda and do some ministry. You could be giving money that you know directly where it's going, how it's being spent, instead of sending it to the SBC where it could be spent on any number of things, and you'll never know what's happening. Yes, there's a lot of money tied up in the SBC, but if every conservative church said no more, all that money is gone from the SBC. The SBC will sink. The liberals will have nothing. They'll go to their own liberal denominations. They'll find somewhere else to live like vampires off of other conservative people, because that's how liberals have always survived, on the backs of conservative, hardworking people. But that money that you were given to the SBC will now be in your local church, in your local area, and you will make a difference. There's a guy by the name of John Harris. I'm going to link a lot of his videos after this is over, because he had some really good, much better takes on this situation than I did. But he has been preaching for a while, something that I'm starting to kind of see eye to eye with, because I was kind of on the opposite side of things. But after this SBC and the way that America as a nation is going, I'm starting to seize the wisdom in it. And that is, we had this big experiment of globalism, trying to globalize everything, have every denomination, every nation be run by a handful of people, instead of on the local level. I mean, that was the brilliance of America, was not that we had this great federal government, is that the federal government had almost no power, and that the states were the ones in control, because the federal government can make a decision and they have no clue how it's affecting New Hampshire. But there is a local government in New Hampshire who knows how things are meant to be run for people in that context, and they can better govern themselves than can the federal government. A missionary in Koboko, Uganda, knows better about what's going on in Koboko, Uganda than does Ed Litton. But Ed Litton, the way that him and his guys are trying to change the SBC, they don't want it to be an association of churches anymore. They want it a top-down run thing. Litton is the god, the pope of the SBC. That's what he wants. He doesn't even know Koboko, Uganda exists. But he's going to tell them over in Uganda how to give their money, how to use their money. The SBC is becoming basically like the federal government, and we don't want that. We want more local control, local power. And so if we remove our money from the big SBC, this big bloated bureaucracy that just wastes money on evil and maybe illegal things, and just keep it local, we can fund local missionaries and send them places, or keep them local. Either one works, and know where our money's going, and know that our money's making a difference. Guys, if we just quit giving to the SBC, there won't be this big pot of money that we're not stewarding properly. If you continue giving to the SBC, I guarantee you it's poor stewardship, because we have no control over where that money goes. It'll continue to pad the pockets of the wrong guys. So, in conclusion, I'm part of the other side, obviously. I think, guys, the SBC died. Truth is, it's probably been dead for a long time, but officially, it's dead. Sure, the liberals will continue to try to, stand it back up on its feet, give it the appearance of that it's alive, make a zombie of it. It'll continue to walk around as a state church like they have in China and many other places where Christianity is illegal. They always have a state church, a state-approved church. This is what you're allowed to believe if you're going to pretend to be Christian, and it's always an apostate church with another religion, or another gospel, I should say. Guys, that's what the SBC has become. There's nothing to salvage. It's gone down. Better to save your money. Quit spending it on who knows what the SBC is spending it on. Keep your money local. Keep your support for missions local. Yes, it'll mean more work, more responsibility for you. You've got to go and find the missionaries now, rather than trusting NAMB and the SBC to find it, or IMB. I forgot about those guys. But if you are going out there, you're finding your own missionaries, you're finding local ministries to give to, you know what's happening with the money. If you don't know, you can find out. You actually know the people personally. They're not people like the SBC people who say, I'm not obliged to tell you anything about what we do, which is what a lot of SBC guys say when they're asked about the finances. Guys, keep it local. Forget the SBC. It was fun while it lasted. There was a lot of good actually done, but anything that chooses a world stage over the local, that wants to consolidate power into the hands of a few people, like our federal government and like the SBC, always ends up corrupt, bloated, and doing no good for anybody, and doing more harm than good. And that's what the SBC's become, guys. Think local. We can still do partnerships across, different areas, but it needs to be partnerships where we know each other and we are open with each other and we can keep each other accountable. There is no accountability left in the SBC. Rest in peace, SBC. You had a nice run, but now it's time for you to disband. Now, with that said, the most concerning thing to me in all of it was the fact that the SBC president at the time, J.D. Greer, got up and he preached a false gospel in front of the SBC. And Ed Litton believes that same false gospel. That should terrify us, guys. The biggest denomination, Protestant denomination in the world, they officially are preaching a false gospel now. And the fact is, many of you people who call yourself conservatives may have bought into the false gospel, may not have seen the difference between the true and the false gospel. And that is why I recommend that you guys click on this video that I'm leaving linked after this one is over. And it's called, What is the Gospel? It'll leave off the politics. It'll go straight to the scriptures and what the scriptures teach about the gospel. And I recommend that you listen to it and really examine yourself to see whether you are in the faith or not. And guys, let's stop worrying about, before I leave, I want to mention this one thing. The liberals from beginning to end kept saying, the world is watching. The world is watching. You know, the conservatives were saying, you're destroying the gospel. You're not being faithful to scripture, gospel, Christ. That was the cry of the conservatives throughout the convention. And the liberals, what they kept saying over and over and over again, the world's watching. The world's watching. We really want the world to see us and see us good. You can see where the heart is. The world is the God of the SBC now. And friendship with the world is to be an enemy of God. The SBC is an enemy of God. And God is letting them do their thing right now. But as we know from the Psalms, he's up in heaven laughing at them. And judgment's coming. I don't want to be on the ship and giving money to it when God brings final judgment on the SBC. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not going to be a legalist and say you have to do what I'm doing. Many godly and more mature men than me are on the other side of wanting to stay on the ship until it sinks. That decision's up to you. I'm not going to say you're sinning one way or another, but do seriously consider it and don't just do whatever decision you make out of a reaction. Think it through. Think about what the scripture has to say on these many subjects that were dealt with. And we pray, by the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, that you will make a decision that honors him. And if you are an unbeliever and you did click on that video, What is the Gospel? We pray that you'll be saved. Either way, God bless, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment below and feel free to like and share it so others can see it as well. Also, subscribe so that you can keep up to date on future videos. And as always, please check below to see resources that I've used that might help you further your studies. God bless and have a great day.